welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Confidence Igniter podcast. And I am your host, and my name is Tamyko Green. Well, I have an exciting show for you on this day. Yes, a very exciting show. I'm going to be actually joined by a guest here momentarily, but I just want to give you a little insight on what the show is about. A lot of times we have a problem with making up our mind, right? We don't know sometimes if we want to go left, if we want to go right, if we want to go north, if we want to go south. Just sometimes it just, as they say, life be life in, and you get, confronted with something, a decision you have to make. And, sometimes you just don't know what to do. A phenomenal guest that's going to be joining me today. And I tell you, she is so phenomenal. She is a mother, she's a wife, and an author. Yeah, actually, she's the author of the book called Make Up Your Mind. So you must know she is a woman who knows the value in making up your mind, knowing what you want. So please join me with welcoming my guest, Yasmin Roma, to the stage here. Yes, Yasmin.
Hey.
Well, hey. Well. I am so glad that you were able to make it today, girl. I tell you, I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? This is going to be an exciting show because I tell you, it is so important for us to know what we want. Right? Make up your mind. It's a verse in the Bible that talk about in the book of James when God says, "You know what? When you ask me for something and you don't know what you want, so you ask me for this and ask me, then you change your mind, you acting like the waves in the water." He said, "I ain't gonna give you nothing." Right? But so I'm just glad that you are able to join me here today. But before we really get started, is there anything that you would like to say to the listening audience today?
Well, I know how difficult it can be to make up your mind on anything, right? Just your daily choices in itself, whether you get up from bed and you don't get up from bed, what are you going to wear to go to work, or are you going to go to work sometimes? So, it's choices we make daily, but it's the bigger ones that also count. And I know from being someone that used to struggle sometimes with really making up my mind, I really had to focus and really had to hone in, and God started speaking to me about that because I was one that did struggle with those decisions.
Okay. Well, you know what? Like I said, I'm glad you're here because I'm sure there are many people that struggle with being able to make good decisions or just decisions, period. And
Right,
I can tell you, and I'm sure, well, I'll speak for myself. I have those moments in life where I just don't know. I don't know if I want to go right, if I want to go left. And then, it's like, hey, just make a choice, okay? Whichever
right.
choice you make, just always know that you can, you know, make another choice if that choice then, work out for you. So you being the author of the book, Make Up Your Mind. I definitely want to know, what does that mean to you when you hear that statement, make up your mind? What does it really mean to you?
It's really deciding who you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, right? It's choosing to live with intention, no more procrastination, no more letting fear and doubt really get in the way of stealing your joy or your purpose, right? For me, it was making God the center of my life, finding peace, allowing him to give me peace when I don't understand something, or give me strength when I feel my weakest. Because honestly, we are all gonna face pain. We're all gonna,
Yeah.
have choices whether we push through or overcome or we go left or right, like you said, and make up your mind is actually deciding I won't be defined by what happened to me, and I'll be defined by what I'm going to do next.
And I like that. I like that. So then why do you think so many people struggle with making up their mind?
I think it's because people have fears, expectations, past wounds that don't let them see or kind of clouds their vision. And when we hear so often, you should do this, and or you should do that, it's so much so that it really silences the voice inside of you and silences your own thoughts, reshaping what you want it to do, right? To kind of fit the narrative of someone else. So you kind of lose the pieces of you that you thought you were. And now you're trying to fit this mold that someone else is creating for you. So I just think that we need to steer away from that, be true to oneself, right? And well, not be fearful of failure. For sure, because failure is a stepping stone in the learning process. Because I think that's one of the biggest one people fear, failing. And I just look at it as redirection. I look at it as a stepping stone to your next step on moving forward, right? If you decide that you're gonna fear failure, you're just gonna stay stuck. You're not gonna move. Uh, that makes you sometimes not make choices, and not making a choice is also a choice within itself.
I like that. Well, you said a couple of things on the expectations, living up to someone's expectations and making choices. So if someone wants you to do something one way or make a particular choice, and you sometimes feel some kind of way like, okay, well, I got to live up to their expectation. But I believe also when you're trying to live up to someone's expectation, you let your own expectation down.
Yes, for sure.
Because to me, your expectations should always come first because it's you. It's
Right.
about you. And I think that's another part of loving on you, loving that you love yourself enough to say, you know what, they may want me to do whatever, or the expectation is that I should go left, go right, or whatever that expectation someone has about you. But I think when you have your own expectation about who you are, the choices you want to make, how you want to live your life, because it is your life, it was given to you, it wasn't given to someone else. So you have to know how to dance to the beat of your own drum. And then you spoke about fear, and fear will keep you frozen. But what I love about children, oh my goodness, children, you can learn so much about them or from them
Sure.
because children doesn't see falling down as I failed, whereas adults do. And it's so interesting because we start out as kids. So it's like, but when we become adults, we see failure as fatal. Whereas kids are like, especially if they're riding their bike, they fall. They're like, oh man, I done skinned my knee, but I'm about to get up and do that again. Like once I recover from this. So
Right.
and you're right. A lot of times we don't make those decisions due to a fear that maybe we won't be successful at it, but you hit it on the you hit it on the
The nail on
but
the
when you
head.
said there you go, you hit the nail on the head. I'm like, I know they hit it on something, okay? But when you said, not making a choice is making a choice because you made a choice not to move.
Not to do anything, and that to me in itself is failure. When you don't try is when I consider it failure. You're failing yourself in the opportunity of really doing something, becoming something, or even being a blessing to someone else.
That's true. I like that. So then tell me, can you walk me or walk the audience through a process when you had to make a big decision in life and like how did you get to the decision that you made? Now whatever that big decision you had to, can you walk us through that process?
So basically, I'm gonna say this because you can apply this to your personal life also in your, career, business, however you want to see it. But I strive first. We have to heal from within to do anything, right? To be successful in any area of our life, we need to heal from within. So one of the biggest thing that I had to overcome and I had to really make up my mind was forgiving people that caused me trauma. Right. Which is a big thing nowadays. We have a lot of people that it's hard for them to forgive, hard for them to overcome these type of situations, right? So they stay stuck and it's a big burden. So my choice was I had to say to myself, I want peace. And peace only comes when you let go of baggage, when you let go of the heavy burden, right? And it starts with forgiving. First, forgiving yourself. Because sometimes when we go through trauma, we say, what did I do wrong? What did I do to put myself in that position? And there is some accountability sometimes, right? But we have to acknowledge it wherever it is, whether it be big or small, and then say, first I'm going to forgive myself and I need to forgive that person because I want to be free. I don't want to live with the guilt. I don't want to live with the heavy burden. And it was a daily thing. It's waking up every morning, making a decision that you want to be happy, that you want peace, right? Yes, we're going to go through pain. We're going to go through challenges, because that every day brings its burden, every day brings its blessing, every day brings its challenges, but we just have to take them with stride. And we have to understand that when we do face those challenges, it's only going to make us stronger, right? And depending on the perspective that we look at it. So you have a choice. You either sulk, and what benefit are you going to get from that? But just be have a heavier burden, right? Or do you choose that you want peace and let it go and move on so you can continue with the progress that you have been trying to make in your life, whether it's moving forward in a new career or opening up a new business or maybe starting a new relationship, whatever it may be, or maybe it's just some self-love, some self-care, you know? So I just believe it's a daily task that you have to do, a daily choice that you have to make to overcome that.
I like that. I like that. Choices, a daily choice that you have to make. So, well, we always have those moments in life where we are faced with things that we sometimes don't know how to make those daily choices. And sometimes we find ourselves stuck. And maybe someone that's listening right now may be in a situation. It's like, okay, I know I need to make a daily choice. And yes, all of that you're saying is true. What would you say to them? How would you motivate that person to say, like, hey, it's okay, but keep going? What would you say?
First, you have to define what's making you stuck. It's different for everybody. Is it a fear of disappointing someone else? Is it a fear of disappointing yourself? Is it a fear, like we said earlier, of failure? Is it a fear of finance? Is it a fear because you don't have the support or you don't know what people around you are going to say? Or everyone, it is different. And first, you have to define what is it that you think it's going to make you stuck, right? And then walk yourself through the steps. First, acknowledge why you think it's going to make you. So let's take, for example, disappointing other people. You have to understand that in life, you cannot please anybody, everybody. I mean, you can't please everybody, right? Um, when you choose to try to please everybody, you're going to end up displeasing yourself. You're going to end up not only disappointing everybody, but disappointing yourself. And I understand nowadays that people's disappointment, it's going to pass. It does not linger, but your disappointment in yourself lingers. It turns into regret. And regret is really hard sometimes to overcome for some. I mean, it's hard to overcome, but other people suffer more than others, right? So we don't want to fall into that hole that we think that we're going to just dig deeper, right? So we just have to get over the fact that disappointment is going to happen, you know, regardless. What kind of disappointment? Well, disappointing yourself lingers, disappointing others passes. And then sometimes you have to also create boundaries. So if it's somebody that doesn't support you, then you have to create boundaries. What do you want? State it with respect to another person, right? Um, Respect your own beliefs, right? And just that person doesn't have to agree with you, and you guys can come to terms where they don't have to agree with you, but at least respect you and respect what you want and your desires and be able to listen, right? Because part of communication, part of a success is not only actually communicating effectively, but within communicating effectively, we have to listen effectively, not only to the other person, but to ourselves as well. So again, it goes with daily choices, daily choices to step forward, not step backwards, right? Move in the right direction and understand that you're going to face challenges again. We go back to the challenges, but making sure that you're ready to push through them because challenges, it's just another way to get you to the next level, right? It's like a test. It just prepares you for the next level.
I like that. And one of the things when you first started speaking, you said you first got to figure out what's holding you back. And that's powerful because it's a challenge to move forward if you don't know what's keeping you from moving. It's like having an anchor wrapped around your ankle and you trying to figure out why I can't move. But you don't realize that something is keeping you grounded. And until you push past that, it's hard to make those decisions, especially those hard decisions. Every now and then, all of us is faced with a choice that some people may see it as hard, and you might look at it and say, well, you know what, it's just another choice in life. Whereas someone else may say, well, you know what, that's not the way I feel. But you got to first figure out why you feel the way you feel. But just know that life, I always say, life is a forward moving motion. And you pretty much said, don't stay stuck. Don't stay
Right.
where you are. Keep going.
Well, you said something earlier about children, and I like to use the analogy of infants. When a baby is born, a baby doesn't really do much but cry, right? But then when they start discovering things, they start with the rolling over process, with the sitting up process, with the crawling, with the walking, because eventually they don't want to just walk, they want to run, they want to jump, they want to play. And every step of the way, there are those challenges where you said it with the bike analogy where, they're riding their bike and they fall, but it's the same thing when they sitting up and they're crawling and they're walking and they're running. In every challenge and every step of the way, they fall. They bump their head, they bump their knee, they bump their bottoms, and what do? They might whine for a minute, some cry for a minute. Others don't, they just dust themselves off and they keep going. No matter what they did, they still kept going. Why? Because the end result is running and jumping and playing. And that's what they eventually do. And you have to question yourself, when did you lose that courage? You were born with that courage. When did you lose that courage? Understand when you lost that courage, why you lost it, and then walk through that process in healing whatever made you lose that courage.
Yes, that's true. I'm sure some people be like becoming an adult and paying bills. That's what some people be like. Hey, I know what made me lose it when I became an adult to pay these bills and
It's like my
everything. Look, you just paid them, and then all of a sudden, 30 days roll back around real quick. It's like, come on now. The truth of the matter is it still goes back to what you said. If kids had to pay bills, they would be like, that's all right, because that means I'm gonna have to figure out how to make some more money. Okay, kids,
right,
I don't
right.
kids, and that's why I always say you can learn from anyone. And you can learn a lot from children because they're like rubber balls. They just bounce back. I don't care. And if it's something they want, let a child have a desire they done made up their mind about this bike they want. They ain't even got a job. But they'll go around saying, I'm getting that bike. Like, I don't care. And people like, what do you mean you ain't
Yeah, yeah,
be blessed with this bike? Okay, I don't care what you say. And I don't care what you tell that kid. That kid ain't hearing it. Look, I'm going to have that bike. Okay? I know Imma have that bike, and I'm not gonna stop believing until the bike show up because they obviously understand it's a process, but, we become adults, some of us, because you do have some adults that's like, they gonna call that thing that be not as though it was, and they don't even care what you say. They like, "Hey, that's on you. That's your thought process. Roll with it, ride with it, whatever, but I got my own drums over here, and I'm beating them. And whatever I say, I didn't say I know when it's coming, but it's coming. But it's all about making up your mind and not wavering because it didn't show up when you wanted to. I mean, look, FedEx is always late. So if your what you wanted didn't show up on time, look, I don't mean no harm, FedEx. I'm cool with you, but say, hey, my package got on a FedEx truck. Okay. If it show up on time, say UPS, thank you.
I think that's why God said that we need to be like children, right?
Yes.
We need to be like children, and because they are courageous, they don't stop asking, they don't waver. You can tell
Yes.
them no, but they still believe that it's a yes. So
Look, and that is so true. And the doorbell ring, they be like, "That's for me." I know it's mine. But it's and I love that about children. And actually I'm that way too. I mean, it's like if I want something like you can't tell me. Okay, you can tell me that's how you feel, but that's on you. I understand that we have challenges, but we still have to make decisions and always keep in mind that in the midst of any storm, in the middle of it is calm. How do I know? Hurricanes. Where's the peace at? Right there in the center. So instead of looking at the disaster or the challenge, you know what? Find the opportunity in the midst of it. Just find the opportunity. But hey, we're getting down toward the end of the show. But before we go, I just want to know, is there anything else that you would like to tell the audience today?
Basically, for me, I'm more centered spiritually. I have a relationship with God, so I make him the center. So like you said about the hurricane and the storm and the wave, it reminds me of when God is walking on the water and he calls, Peter says, Lord, is it you? Tell me to come, and he does. And in the middle of waves and wind and all this chaos, right? So as long as Peter was focused on God, right, on Jesus, he was able to walk on the water. But once he started paying attention to the waves and the wind and all of that, he lost focus. And the thing is that sometimes, and that's what I kind of say, I find the wind and the wave to be like your challenges, right? So if you remain focused, right, and for me, it's God centered. I know that there's people that might listen to your program and they don't believe in God. But as long as you stay focused on what's at hand, then the noise of the wind and the waves and the push and the shove, they're not going to detour you from what you are headed towards, right? And that's what we need to focus on sometimes. Just get rid of the noise. Start small is also another big thing of mine. Start small. Map out things for yourself. Ask yourself questions like we just said, just kind of wrapping up what we talked about. Where did I lose my courage? Why am I so fearful? Why don't I want to disappoint people? And ask all these questions of yourself and start having answers for them. Once you start discovering all that, you're going to see and you're going to be able to come out of your shelf and really start making up your mind for different things, because making up your mind, we're talking about it right now, like in a positive aspect, but making up your mind is also about wrong choices, you know? So that's that, but, but we want to focus on making the best possible choices for ourselves. So, I would say that, and I would just say, find clarity. Just find clarity. It's about finding clarity, finding your focus and just sticking with it and believing in yourself and wanting to have that peace and that understanding of yourself and just a lot of self-care and grace. Give yourself grace for a lot of things every step of the way.
All right, all right. Well, I love it. I love it. Once again, thank you for joining me today and make up your mind. I really, really appreciate you. And to our listening audience, please, please, please do not forget to like, to share, and to subscribe so you can always get the latest and the greatest video. But before I go, I want to remind you that on November 15th, starting at 10 a.m., all the way to 12 p.m., Fortified City Christian Church will have their food distribution. But also on that same day, November 15th, they will also have a board event. So if you are in need of food, they're gonna have turkeys for Thanksgiving. So if you are in need of food, please come out to 2477 Canton Road in Marietta, Georgia. That is November 15th, starting at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. But the vision board is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So please stop by, get you some food, and come and define your vision. Well, that has been our show for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Until we meet again, have a great day. Bye bye.